Welcome to Chat and Shit, the podcast that's technically about gut health, but who knows what pan the chat will end up in. I'm Lisa.
And I'm Alana. After a life of cabbage soup diets, energy drinks, and travelling the world as DJs,
We volunteered for medical research.
we sent off loads of poo samples and found out that despite being identical twins, our guts are completely different.
Basically the same as strangers.
We also learned that gut health is serious stuff and linked to pretty much everything from mental health to immunity.
When we first started on our journey, our favourite thing to do was to take the experts and scientists out for pints to pick their brains about the latest findings.
So we thought we'd do that again with some of our celeb pals so they can ask the top experts in the world anything they like.
Literally anything. This is Chat and Shit. Okay, so if ever there was a job that most people would shit themselves to do, it is,
Jobby.
of course, stand-up comedy, a jobby. So to help us unpick the psychology of the intensity on our guts when it comes to stand-up, both as a stand-up and an audience member, is Dr. Emily Prpa. She's a nutrition scientist who not only has a master's, a PhD, she's clever, and her research work has been published internationally, not just the UK. She was also a fellow at the Parliamentary Office and has authored policy briefs for parliamentarians to inform UK food policy. No biggie. And who better to join us than, of course, Russell Kane. He's never off the telly. His caning rants rack up millions of views, and I've personally seen you commanding very large audiences, comedy rooms. And when I went, both of Alana and I went out with comedians. Someone ended up marrying one I didn't, because you're all mental.
Try before you buy, girl.
Funny gets the funny.
And I do wonder, I've always wondered.
Excuse me. Mutual respect acquires the vulva. It's what we like to say now in 2025.
Oh, right, okay. Cool. That vampire gets the vulva. It doesn't work as
Mutual
well.
respect.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
I've always wondered if the speed at which your brain works affects your guts.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Or maybe it's because of your good gut health that your brain works in such a high intense
Possibly.
fashion. How is your gut health?
I
Russell,
think
do
it's
you
pretty good.
it's
I mean, I've not brought a stool sample with me or anything.
Gillian McKeith.
No,
vibes.
but yeah, I mean, I am really into this stuff, not because I'm a know-it-all or like a creepy biohacker that wants to live till I'm 80, shagging models in a rocket on the moon. It's just because like Elon Musk and Brian Johnson and all that. I love what Brian Johnson is doing.
Yeah.
He's doing loads of over-the-top crazy stuff. Probably half of it's nonsense, but what a dude for putting himself out there for science. I couldn't live my life like that. I have a real, full life. I like Ibiza. I like partying. I do like treating myself now and again. But because I started my career late and because things are happening to me much later by a decade or two than they should, I became interested, being blackmailed by my wallet and my career into how... Actually, I was like, I need to stay round about 32, 33 biologically. Is it possible? Can it be done? All my friends laughed in my face. No, it can't be. Snake oil, all of that stuff. So I just started with the basics, like your gut health and cutting out crap and exercising and sleep and stress and a good marriage, sex life, all of that stuff that's free because you don't need a gym to do exercise. And then I've started experimenting, evidence-based supplementation, some of the more nerdy stuff, and just fun reading about the science and just trying to slow down the biological aging. Obviously, for a man, you got the hair as well. I can't use Botox or filler because if a stand-up comic, I suppose if you're making a virtue of it, like a Joan Rivers type thing, or say it's like Catherine Ryan will make jokes about it, and Jimmy Carr makes jokes about having work done, it's fine. But for most of us,
Face needs to move.
yeah. So I have to do it naturally. I can't put anything in my face that I wasn't born with, other than dental. I do have Profilo in my skin, but that's just vitamins put into the skin.
Hyaluronic acid.
Correct. I have radio frequency facials just to stimulate the collagen, but nothing
You're
beyond that.
aging backwards, Russell. I
know.
have to say, we've known each
works.
other quite a long time.
This
and
shit
we've,
works.
Yeah, we've
Trust me.
aged terribly.
No, not at
You
all.
are getting younger.
Not at all.
We've had some help.
You both look lovely. I don't want
Hashtag gut
to go beyond that because the way we're
You're
sort
not
of
allowed.
sat, it would look like a thumbnail for a creepy video that a lot of people would download.
More than a podcast about poo, anyway.
Yeah, but yeah. So it's my friends have gone. Put it this way, my friends have gone quiet as the years have gone on, and then of course my wife's much younger than me, and she started to catch me up, if you like. So she started to try and do all this stuff, and it's very time consuming and annoying, and that's what led to her starting a business based on it. So she's now got a biohacking business based on some of the stuff I do. So that's where I am, and I'll be 50 in August, and I'll be on a dance floor in Ibiza, having it.
Are you going to be 50? 50?
I'll be 50 August 19th. Yeah,
I mean, you look
50.
absolutely cracking. If looking after your microbes does this.
Listen,
Emily,
I'm from
that's
Essex. The orange don't crack.
Emily, is there a link to like the aging process and our gut health? And I'm presuming laughing. So your audiences are probably going to be happier.
Laughter, yeah, I never thought about
Laughter. Is there a link between that? Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to aging, definitely. So there's this new term kind of inflammageing. So as we age, inflammation becomes bigger, more prominent in the body. And the gut microbiome, so the bacteria living in our gut, I never know if I need to explain it or not, but
Always do.
you're all
you
nodding.
picked up on microbes, Russell, would you say?
I wouldn't
Would
say
you
it's
like
my,
to start on
my specialist area.
Okay, go.
Not going to be your mastermind topic.
I mean, I've read up on the duodenum.
Yeah.
So, Russell, as you know, like gut health is booming. It's what
Yeah.
piqued your interest when it came to kind of longevity. But it's not just the gut when we think about the gut in research. The gut is this 9-meter long tube in our body. But actually, what we're really interested in as researchers is the gut microbiome. So, this community of bacteria mostly living throughout our digestive tract. And these bacteria are chatty little things. They chat really closely with our immune system, which is where it kind of is integral when it comes to aging. But what we see is as we age, our gut microbiome becomes less diverse. And sometimes that can signal a less healthy gut microbiome. Going back to the laughter side of things, so not only are the bacteria talking to your immune system, but lots of other organs and systems in the body, one of which is the brain. So have you heard of the gut-brain axis or the gut-brain connection?
Oh, yeah, people talk about that now because it's like your second brain, isn't it, your gut?
Yeah, exactly. So when we talk about the second brain, we're talking about this enteric nervous system. So it's these nerves that line the digestive tract. And these nerves that are the same that are in your gut as in the brain. And the ones in your gut, obviously, they're not solving complex maths equations or coming up with good comedy material, but what they do allow...
They do tell you how the gig's gone, though, trust me.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, or maybe even before, maybe you get like the nervous poos.
Before I did comedy, I honestly didn't realise that you could shit with fear. I thought it was just a figure of speech. I was shitting myself. I never realised where it came from.
Yeah.
But, for all these pensioners that are backed up with IBS, I recommend 20 minutes Maidstone on a Friday.
At the bowling club,
I
shut
promise
yourself
you,
studio.
There'll be shit everything out. You know, like clippings from the Titanic sinking, like Roman pottery. Everything would come out from the past, out of their anuses. Are nerves good for you then, for a like a free clear
Yeah,
up?
all of this kind of like you're shitting yourself or I've got butterflies before you go on stage and all of this. They're real life examples of your gut-brain axis at play. So when it comes to nerves, what your body is doing is it's an acute stress response. So we often think like stress, adrenaline is, well, when it's chronically in our body and we're constantly stressed, yes, that's a bad thing a lot of the time. But these acute bouts, like it's healthy for you.
I've got a question for you, and it's a question that will be asked by any teacher, sports, but anyone who's got a sort of a performance aspect to their job. It's not just what us guys do. Lots of jobs have a performance aspect, but lots of people love that. But my body appears to not know the difference. So when I wear my polar chest strap, my heart rate rests at about 50. It's up to 110 before I'm even on stage. Then it's 120, 130 while I'm on. The body, if it's a big gig, you literally have to shit before you go on stage. But I love it. So does that make a difference, or am I killing myself?
So no, I don't think you are, and I think that idea of the fact that you're enjoying it is a sign that you're
physiologically, my body's doing the same things as someone who hates it.
So, but acute stress isn't necessarily a bad thing.
But it's
you need it.
Doing 5-6 gigs a week every week for 20 years.
Okay, so yes, chronic. Yes, perhaps, because if you are. The interesting thing when we think about it from a gut-brain perspective is, yes, acute bouts of stress, they are, as I say, kind of like a good thing. They give you that motivation. They also give you that buzz that you're talking about. The adrenaline is kind of, these stress hormones are pumping through your body, and it's a natural physiological response. You know, we were born with this kind of nervous system, this fight or flight. When you are constantly in this, like you say, you kind of got peaks and troughs, it sounds like, every evening you're doing
every
it.
single stand-up on the planet.
You will...
Every performer, every pop star, anyone who gets up in front of an audience, unless you're dead on the inside, your heart rate's going to go up and your adrenaline will go every night.
Totally. So when you are... I mean, obviously, I don't have research actually looking at comedians or performers in that way.
You should give yourself
but,
body up.
So maybe we could start, testing your stool samples
PhD
pre and post.
PhD reckoning.
Well, I'm under a cardiologist every year because they cannot believe
Really?
I'm not unhealthy because of what my heart does when I'm on stage. So there is a theory where that you could say that the body knows when it's good stress or bad stress. So like, for example, I'm completely freeforming here. I have no data or research, but back in the day, if I had to hunt every day for food and my adrenaline switched on every day when I saw an antelope, and every day I speared an antelope from when I was 16 to when I was 76, but I loved it, I'd probably be quite a healthy hunter.
Because the interesting thing about that is what the fact that you love it, you get this positive emotion afterwards, is
Correct.
all of those endorphins, they're having a positive effect then on your brain and indirectly
Like
on
a
your
carbon
gut.
offset
But also,
of the adrenaline.
interestingly, like for you, because you are, by the sounds of things, looking after your gut health, what's really interesting is that our gut microbiome can actually help us manage like acute bouts of stress. So what it is the bacteria in the gut and the products that they produce when they eat fibre and things
Short
like
chain
that.
fatty acids.
Correct.
Whoa,
10 points for
Yeah,
Hufflepuff.
10 points.
Yeah.
Hufflepuff.
And short chain fatty acids, you might not have heard of them, but they are the compounds that are produced as byproducts when your gut bacteria feed on their favourite food. And these short chain fatty acids, they are really helpful for the gut and the gut functioning, but they can also then be absorbed into the bloodstream and go off into the body, most notably on the brain, and start having anti-inflammatory effects. So what happens is those short-chain fatty acids, as well as the bacteria themselves, can help neutralize stress-related harmful compounds. So it might be that, you're having these big peaks and drives in like cortisol and stress hormones when you're on stage, but you're then releasing lots of endorphins and happy hormones that will indirectly impact your gut microbiome. But your gut microbiome as well may be resilient as well to the acute bouts of stress.
And you get those during and before. You get that at the same time as the adrenaline, the stress before. You're already getting the endorphins before. So at the blackout, when you hear the audience cheering in anticipation, I'm already getting predorphins, to coin a phrase. Getting a predorphin.
And this thing that you do something that you love, right? So you're probably, in terms of your emotional resilience and stability, you're generally quite a happy person.
I sleep like a baby. Everyone's like, how do you sleep? And I have like a quadruple espresso before I go on. I'm like, out like a light. Every night, no problem.
Because all of that will indirectly be, having an effect on your body. The power of the mind and the impact of the mind on physiological health is...
It's interesting. I actually sleep better when I have gigged, even though I would have had a lot more caffeine a lot later on. I get off stage
your body's
at 10.
just been made to be a stand-up. Like literally, the chemical nature of your body is just...
I think it's just so high energy what I do. So this strap OS is I wear anything between like burn anything between 500 and 800 calories. So probably I'm a bit of
What, on a gig?
Easy. Well, you're going at 120 heart rate for 70 minutes. Easy. It's like dancers, isn't it? I'm rehearsing a dance thing at the moment, and I was doing that for 3 hours. That was a fucking 1,000 calories, even with stopping and talking about the dance. So if you've got a physical component,
I think your brain burns calories.
Agree.
Possibly.
Big old brain.
The strap won't be able to tell that because it's just going on heart rate response. But yeah, you got to be quite. I suppose stand-up's different to acting in that it's changing all the time. Anyone front row could say something, could go off in a different tangent. Some stand-ups are very scripted and just go from beginning to end. But I'm not. It changes every night.
What is the response of actually having to do like a pre-show poo or a pre-speaking poo? Is it your body trying to rid itself because it thinks it's running from a saber-toothed tiger?
Correct.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's your body is in this fight or flight response. It suggests that there's danger about and it's got to get ready to run. So it's essentially just clearing everything out so that then everything you can be light as a feather as you sprint
Skip on
across.
stage. Have you always been like that? Or did you used to eat badly when you come off stage?
Oh, God,
drink loads before you? This is a new...
Yeah, God, yeah. No, I didn't. Well, I was uneducated. I just didn't have I had no interest. I'm naturally slim. So my whole family is. My mum's like a stick with hair on. My granddad, full head of hair, stick with hair on, still alive. My granddad and my grandma.
Amazing.
So there's obviously been the slimness gene has passed down, and you sort of, when you just come from a council estate, you think as long as I'm not fat, I'm fine. Of course, there's more to it than that. So, but when you can eat whatever you want, fucking get off your tits every weekend, and I didn't seem to ever get hangovers. Obviously, as I got more successful, my brain needed to be sharp, and then you sort of pass about 28, 29, and it's like, oh, there's a little tummy appearing there. And that's when I started to get interested, because I noticed that the more stamina I had on stage, the more successful the gig was, the more TV I got, and the more money I earned. And as a peasant from a council estate, I like the idea of earning money and having a secure house and all that. So past poverty is a great personal trainer.
I think as well, like we're the same as you, Russell, in that like for us, just health just wasn't being ill where we were from. Do you know what I mean? There was none of this thriving and standing on your head drinking smoothies or anything like that. So it wasn't until you actually get to an age where you're like, actually, you know, actually energy means a lot to me, or just getting through my day, not just living on this survival plane of we've just got to get through every day and not be ill. Like that's a really big mind shift.
Yeah, and that's the biggest difference thing is I don't nap. I don't get tired anymore.
Yeah.
I don't nap. I haven't had a cold for about 8 years. Had a proper cold. How about the couple of times I got COVID, in and out in 48 hours. And it's just that my body just seems to fight everything off. I've regrown my hair back at the crown. That was starting to thin out. So I was in danger of getting a monk Elvis. Do you know what that is?
What's that?
So we got Elvis at the front and monk. A hunk of burning. Oh.
But this is
Monk Elvis is the worst. If you're going to go bald, lads, just go bald all night. Nothing wrong with bald.
Agree.
No.
Women can't look at Statham. He's drowning in pussy. There's nothing wrong with being bald.
Done like just combed it all back over.
I would have shaved it off. Jason Statham, Panani master, no hair. It's not an issue.
Agree.
But
Panani.
but you don't. What you don't want is the Elvis followed by the gasp reveal when you turn around. Look at the head of hair on the. So I would just, if I need to, I'm not vain about it, I'll just shave it off.
Just get it off.
But I realised when you manage your stress and there's only so much you can do as a man genetically with the hair. It really, because I know men, every time I stop speaking about hair and things like this, because every time I do, it's sad really. I get hundreds and hundreds. It really affects blokes. I wish they knew how much women didn't give a shit, because what a woman really wants is a man. Well, I've realised now at my age,
You got the answer.
I've reduced the list of what a woman wants to one thing, which is by the time a woman gets to about 30, not a twat.
Yeah, correct.
There's not much
an
else.
arsehole.
There's not much else on the list. Okay, there's not quite like tall guys, I suppose. But even if you've had your heart stamped on 5 times, fucking Frodo's getting some pussy. Do you know what I mean? And I've just. But it really affects. Men. It's the same way some women go through things with their bodies that men don't even notice. So if there is any data on gut health and heredity, because if you look at, the granddad has the hair, the son has, it seems to be genetic and there's not much you can do about it. So what I've done that's been really effective is just really gentle derma rolling on the scalp. Gentle. It's a micro abrasion, which you sometimes get to regenerate the skin. And minoxidil, which is the standard go-to medicine that prevents hair loss, and finasteride, which is the one which sort of messes with the male
pattern
hormone.
born on.
Yeah. But trouble is with taking it orally, it can mess with your testosterone all everywhere else. So that's what I've done to hang on to a slightly less dense, but nonetheless
No, it's looking
it's
great and
intact
glossy.
crown for a man of my age. There's not much left, ladies. It's like going into Greg's at 8 p.m. And if you're looking for a fella like me, that's fucking what's on the married fucking prison, like
You're left
paedophile.
with like the
It's
coronation chicken.
There's just
baguette.
nothing left. There's no quality left on the
You've got a
shelf.
lukewarm sausage roll, steak bakes. Honestly, we don't talk about Greg in every episode.
We have talked about Greg's
in every episode.
There's no 45-year-old going, I just haven't met the right woman and I'm actually all right. No, you're fucking, there's something wrong. There's what's in your cellar. There are men out there that would love to know if there's any science about what we can eat. I know one of the main things when I went to the place to try and see what to do about my hair. Originally, I was like, can I get a transplant? You can't. You have to be bald to get a transplant
right.
because if you because I thought, well, just look how much hair I've got. It's like, you see
just
pictures
bang
of
it up there.
Japanese babies with the hair doing like that stuff. Thick my hair is like Japanese baby hair. So I was like, why can't you just take some of that shit and thicken that up? But the stress to the neighbouring hairs kills them off. So you put 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So you've got to have
big old
a
space.
disc. So B6, I know they gave me when I was supporting my finasteride minoxidil journey, and whatever's in the B complex vitamin stuff is sort of recognised, but I didn't know if you had any other answers.
So in terms of gut, which is where my specialty lies, when it comes to hair loss and the link between the gut microbiome and hair, it's more through the skin. So often people think you need to go and see a hair specialist, but actually when it comes to hair, you're seeing a dermatologist. It's around the skin.
That's maybe where your derma thingies work.
Microabrasions.
that's fine.
Science is
Yeah.
split on that, though. I have to say that you'll get just as many people shouting bullshit at this pod as, I do that.
Yeah.
Because I might just be that minoxidil and finasteride worked for me and I'm getting a false positive correlation, ladies, from the microabrasions.
There definitely is a link between the gut and the skin. So, even our skin and, all along us, we have a skin microbiome. So loads of bacteria.
It's the largest organ of the body.
The way in which your gut and your skin communicate is via, again, sort of the immune system and the idea of kind of inflammation. So a lot of skin conditions are actually inflammatory in nature, everything from acne to psoriasis, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there may be a link again there. And as we get older, we do have typically more inflammation in the body. So it may be as men get older, the gut microbiome diversity sort of decreases, but also then inflammation is decreasing.
Don't you think it's mad that no one has cured that yet? It feels like something we should be able to. The money behind the amount of vain, rich, billionaire men there are in the world, it blows my mind that it's some minoxidil and you're still going to lose it, but you bought 5 years. It's the best we've got, followed by a trip to Turkey.
But I do think that vanity is a lot of the reason that people come to these, to gut health, because a lot of people come to it for weight loss. Like, I know you're lucky to have a skinny and thick hair and whatever, but a lot of people come to it through weight loss and vanity, don't they? And it seems so counterintuitive because it's from the inside out that we want to be better and more healthy. We have dead dads and all of us, because we've got that in common, haven't we?
But
and something happens where you're suddenly faced with your mortality and you go, oh shit.
But there's nothing wrong with using vanity, or in my case economics, as a lever to operate the machinery of health. It's like it's sort of whatever works. It's the same with charity, really. Someone goes, you're only raising money for charity because it makes you look good. Who gives a shit, man? There's some malaria nets going to Uganda. I couldn't give a shite how narcissistic and self-obsessed the person is if they're helping the homeless. Same result type thing. So we'd love everyone for a scientific reason to love their guts. But if it's vanity, or in my case, money that makes me stay in shape, who cares? My life is closer to sort of a boxer or a footballer's life. My fitness is related to my work. Because of the nature of my stand-up act, it's very, I don't know if you've ever seen it, it's physical.
I was exhausted. Oh my God.
It's not stand and tell jokes. My body is part of what I do. And obviously a man of my age, if I were a sports person, I'd be long retired. So I'm just trying to, I don't know how much longer I can pull that sort of health. But I'm just trying to hang on. What I've noticed, what's interesting is, as I've gone on this journey over the last decade, I've sort of, the rest of me's going back to the 30s and 20s as well. So I'm going to IB for 2-3 times a year and start going out clubbing. Everything's going back to what it was. The energy.
I know.
Obviously everything else that follows for poor Lindsay. I thought 12 years age gap.
She wants a quiet life.
She'd get a couple of nights off a week.
Yeah, she wanted a quiet life.
I'll be knocking on the door and not with my hands.
Because I think as well, it's really snorted. It is interesting though, obviously and you've worked in Parliament and the government at this in terms of food policy, and getting people interested in this stuff is hard, and creating change is difficult. Because a lot of people, and we're all coming from a place of privilege now that we can afford to spend money on supplements and loads of fruit and veg and all that sort of thing. What do we think the answer is?
Well, fruit and veg shouldn't be more expensive than a crispy pancake. It's fucking just grown.
Remember crispy pancakes?
It's grown in a bit of mud in the ground. It's basic produce. The easiest thing for working class people to buy, which is where I'm from, council estate, should be fresh food. And it should be taught, not at secondary. Everyone's like, we need to go into secondary school. It's too fucking late. We need to go into primary schools. Same with sex education, which they actually do better in Scotland, if you can believe it. In England, everything is behind. It's so backward. I speak to 16-year-olds about fruit. They can't give a shite. They just want to be on TikTok.
Totally.
Need to speak to
it's 5-6-year-olds.
Who will absorb the information. It will sit dormant. They'll go out and eat pancakes, and then it will come through again like a winter bulb when they're 21.
My daughter's 3.5, and she'll be like, oh, I'm having this biscuit, but can I have an apple with it? I'm like, sorry, what?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she's got that from such a long.
Googling
from such a young age. Do you know what I mean? So even at that age, we could do it. But I just think there's, people like my mum's in her 60s, and she's like, there's no hope for me now. That's it.
Do you know what? That's bollocks. That.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's bollocks.
Totally
I'm sick of people in their 60s. I think once you're into your 80s and 90s, you're limited to the sudden dramatic changes you can make. Now, if you look at 70-year-olds today, they're young. So I've got this image I use when I'm talking about life extension with Joel. Is I like to think of health. You can steal this one as well.
Yeah, go on.
like a pension, right? So if we were sat here not thinking about our finances, we're in our 60s, 70s, because we're in showbiz, right? We're rich 1 minute, skint the next. So you're doing whatever you're doing. You might be getting buy-to-lets, you might be doing savings, you might be investing in other businesses, whatever it is, you two will be getting yourself ready to be in your 60s and 70s, so you don't have to worry. Why don't we think about our health like that? Whatever you pay in between, I think 25, but at least 30 and 60 is what you will cash out at 70. If you have not paid into that pension, or worse, taken out loans, they will come for you. I had a medical recently for something I was filming, and the doctor was like looking at all my bloods and all that, and I was feeling like the golden boy standing in my top, giving it all a fucking full David Beckham pants on shot, thinking and he went, "What about your brain?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He went, "People forget about brain health. Like, what are you putting in? Are you scrolling your phone? Are you cutting your sleep? What stress are you putting in?" And he went, "The brain is like a bank. It's a really dangerous bank, because the rest of your body, if you start to take advantage of your body, your knees are going to ache, your belly's going to grow. Your body tells you pretty quickly when you're running into debt. The brain's a sneaky. It will let you take loan after loan after loan after loan, then bang, stroke. You will not get a warning. It will turn up at your door going, "I want paying today." And if you not put the health in there, it will take it via stroke or something worse.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think we always think of the brain as separate to the body for a really long time. Like in medicine as well, like, you know, you specialize early on an organ and you never consider the body as a whole. We talk about mental health being separate to physical health, but all we have is sort of health. And what's really interesting, and kind of like going back to the gut brain, is that when, you know, diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's that typically come later on in life, what we see sometimes is that gut problems will manifest sometimes decades before the brain disease itself does. So for Parkinson's, often patients will have constipation, like severe constipation, 10 years before they will even develop Parkinson's. For something like Alzheimer's disease, you're 6 times more likely to develop it if you have inflammatory bowel disease, so something like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's.
The gut's like a first warning zone.
Yeah, totally.
Because sometimes they cut do they not cut the vagus nerve for some treatments in Alzheimer's? I made that
I
up.
don't know.
Yeah,
maybe in my, I don't know.
Yeah, and
probably
back in the day,
50 million years ago.
Yeah, I think
Exactly.
I don't know many people that are
Is it true
signing
that
up to get their
leeches
vagus
and
nerve
pul-
service.
I heard a leech and poultice can alleviate some of your hysterics of the female condition.
you are
Scottish
correct.
medicine in 2025. Nicola Sturgeon with a leech on her leg.
You're totally right though. Like, I think, you know, Lisa and I over the last, 8 years since we've had the gut stuff are very much, we're all about the sort of physical health. But actually, from a brain point of view, I don't think I personally take it enough into account, with the doom scrolling and the stress and all the rest of it. And I think, it's such a fair, like that really resonated that.
You can't necessarily see. Brain's a bit more sneaky, and it can be hidden what's coming.
I think yes and no, because even when you do scroll, right, you get this dopamine hit, right? It's the same as if you eat like really sugary food, because you absorb the sugar really quickly. Your brain reward systems fire up quicker than usual when you eat normal food, more whole natural food. And so that dopamine hit goes really high. Normal, not very normal when our ancestors were evolving as hunter-gatherers. And so what your brain does is when you're scrolling, yes, you get that hit, but then it soon comes crashing down, because your body is always looking to be in balance. So the minute it goes up, this dopamine, your body's like, hold on a minute, how did I get up here? Or your brain says, how did I get up here? So it comes crashing back down. So that's what then happens. You get an even lower crash and you feel like crap after doom scrolling, don't you? Similar when you kind of eat the whole pack of, Milky Button share bag, you get that spike, you feel good, but then you often come crashing down. So I think you are getting the warning signals, we're just not listening to them.
So I'll tell you a book that changed me. The other thing that's really insidious, and there's a problem in our culture, and you probably think we're all sat here now with our coffee and water, not being unhealthy. There's so much unhealthy shit happening right now. How we're sat, the temperature of this room's perfect, and we're all got our back like in vegetable positions, right? So there's this brilliant book called The Comfort Crisis. You probably read it by Michael Easter. I didn't realise how dangerous it is to be too comfortable. Because there's this concept, this is my favourite concept in science. I'll probably mangle it, so feel free to jump in. It's called hormesis, right? And it's about having just the right amount of stress, not too much, but also not too little.
Goldilocks phase.
It's a Goldilocks vibe. And they did an experiment recently, and it wasn't to do with hormesis, it's to do with, wanting to colonize Mars and travel to space. And they were like, if we live on Mars, what the fuck are we going to eat? How will we grow trees and plants? So they thought we need to grow it indoors with UV light. So they built a biodome, a biosphere, and put like potatoes, trees, and everything in it. And you know what? They made it perfect soil, perfect nutrition, perfect light. Do you know what happened to those trees and plants? They grew up weak because there wasn't enough stress in the environment. There wasn't enough resilience, right? So you need just enough wind, just enough bugs coming in and out. It's the same reason the least allergic children in the United Kingdom are the ones that grew up in farms. Second most allergic grew up with dogs and cats. Sterilising the bottle while the pug licks the fingers with microbes of shit on it, that kid will grow up less likely to vomit when dog shit goes near it, right? It just obvious when you think about it. It's so obvious.
Yeah.
And the same thing's happening with our youngsters' minds, okay? So we're raising them in padded playgrounds. Okay, I walked to school when I was 11, right? Fucking 11. I wasn't a Victorian child. This is dead recent. But anyone born after about 1985 is fucked. They were driven to school. Oh, what if a paedophile jumps out? What if they fall over and hurt themselves? And of course, these kids, look at them, anxious, panic attack, ADHD. All of this stuff is coming from the pussy old generation of putting too much cotton wool around children. So every aspect of human development, the hormesis is out. Literally from the playground they play on through to the brains that they are growing.
But what's interesting is, so the brain, yes, I do agree. Yeah, well done. Mic drop. Well done. Yeah.
Russell, that will be available on YouTube.
So I agree. Because when we started this podcast and we were talking about stress, I'm very much like, I don't think it's, we talk about now, like, everyone meditate. And yes, I do believe that we are living too much in stress. But stress is really vital for our human existence. It's what gives us motivation. It's what gives us drive. But the thing about what you say about being in that comfort zone, I love talking about this, because your brain is evolutionary wired. The reason why humans continue to exist is because the only reason why your brain exists and evolved was to keep you safe. So anytime you are making a decision, your brain does not know the difference between good or bad. It's not weighing that up. It's not even weighing up right or wrong. All it ever weighs up is safe versus unsafe. So those times when, you want to quit your job, or say you want to do your first ever stand-up, your brain is going to probably talk you out of that because it is something brand new. Your brain is going, hold on, it's going to pull the handbrake every single time, because it would rather keep you in an unhappy marriage, a job that's killing you, because it's like, this is what we know. Anytime there's something out of our comfort zone, more than often it's your gut that will tell you need to go, right? And you've got to kind of like listen to your second brain. And that's why I love this research space so much, because when we talk about change and what do we need when it comes to change is uncomfortable, and we're not so used to it anymore. We keep everything in this safe zone, but whether it's changing your diet, improving your exercise, whatever it is, it requires change. And for that, you've got to listen to your gut and not the brain that's going to tell you to, no, let's just stay on the couch and that kind of thing.
And change is, so when you go to the gym, you're literally changing your muscles. In other words, if it doesn't ache the next day, you haven't done enough micro abrasions and tears, you haven't done it right. So it's this idea of...
You did Elisa and sang songs on the Peloton.
Yeah.
So it's good for endorphins, all right?
Hormesis. So we live in... I'm reading this book at the moment. How old are you, kids?
3.5 and 1.
So please read this, because it's not too...
Is it going to scare me?
Yeah.
Is it about gentle parenting and how it's bad?
No,
I've got a 1-year-old. I haven't got time for books. But...
You'll cry when you read it. And it's to do with what we're doing with children at the moment. From everything, from what they eat, how they play, is we are making their real world environment over safe with no exploration, no going out and exploring in the woods, because the media tells us our children are going to be snatched, even though the chance of anything happening to your child, from road safety to sex offender, is the lowest ever in history. The risk is tiny. So we're reducing the real world risk and then taking no precautions with the iPad. So we're releasing our children onto the internet with no protections, where they develop no social skills, and it retards them emotionally, which is why they're anxious. And we're making, I'll drive my baby to school till she's 16. What if something happened? Well, what if something did happen on the bus? She might learn something about social interaction, or we're doing the same with our bodies. And do you know what stress is on the body? The best stress I put on my body every day, fiber, right? If you want to talk about gut and stress, we have got a fiber crisis in the United Kingdom.
Yes,
One more time for the people at the back.
Exactly.
Come
We
on.
didn't even have to have a conversation ourselves.
The problem is, a lot of people like me, I live in the gym. Yeah, I mean, and if you don't mind me saying, unusual shape for a man of my age. I still hit. I was Heat's centerfold again.
Were you?
Torso of the week, with which I've circled. I circled and put on Lindsay's wall, his lucky wife. That's right, Lindsay. Read that, biatch. And
Have you seen Lindsay though? Absolute slam.
I know exactly. Yeah, I know. It's a permabone, and but she's. But the problem is with this fashion for keeping in shape for a man is I have to eat so much fucking protein. The easiest thing to neglect.
Yeah.
Is fibre and carbs. Don't get me wrong, I eat my potatoes and my greens, but when you look at a bowl of broccoli, do you know how much fiber's in it? A disappointing amount, actually.
2.5 grams.
It's not much. And everyone's like, we can't eat. They're worried about the carbs and the oats and everything. So you cannot get out of it. You need to eat extra fibre. I actually take, just to be on the safe side, acacia fibre and inulin daily. I take both. Only 10 grams.
You need to have our bars and drinks. Russell.
Well, I do. I'm on those all day long. But I at bedtime, regardless, even if I'm at 40, 50 grams of indigestible fibre, I still take an extra 10. What's the worst?
And this is the poster boy.
It's like
fibre fueled.
I think of it like, I'm probably wrong here. Is this the right image? Like a pipe cleaner going through my gut every day, going, that's a nodule, that could be bowel cancer. Not anymore, we man. That's a fucking double Scottish fibroblast. You're like the dynarod of the colon.
We'll take that.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
But yeah,
You've got to have a clearer out, as my dad would have said, every morning.
And it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. It's literally double pronged.
Is inulin and acacia fibre for those of us struggling to, even with wonderful products on the market?
We use inulin in our bars. In our bars, yeah.
Is it safe to have a bit of acacia or inulin extra at night?
Yeah, whenever you're like, yes.
You have to start slow though, don't you? Otherwise,
don't go from zero to hero. Drink lots of water.
The duvet levitates somewhat.
Also, you have to hydrate because fibre soaks up water, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So you have to hydrate,
I've
otherwise you
noticed
get
that. I
constipated.
drink a lot of water, but for men, it's that balance, isn't it? Otherwise, it's 5 sit-down wees.
Yeah. Emily, what would your top tip be for gut-brain axis? You know, just for... Obviously, us three are very passionate about it and we do a lot.
Yeah.
But for, most people, what would your top tip be? Affordable, accessible.
Yeah, fibre is obviously one, and the hydration side of things. If we were to take diet out of it, then, or actually, if we flip it on its head, because I think, Russell, what you were kind of talking about earlier, because to bring up fibre is interesting, because I think everyone often thinks that it's the fancy supplements or something else that might be, the golden ticket for the best gut health. But actually, gut health is all about what you can add to your diet, not what we take away. We were talking about policy earlier, and in the UK, we have a very negative approach, I think, to nutrition. We talk about reducing fat, reducing sugar. A lot of the time now it's ultra-processed foods. But actually, when it comes to feeding your gut microbes, kind of the more, the better when we're talking about kind of whole natural foods. So even if you are eating your beige food and your pizzas and these kind of things, think about what plant foods you can add to your diet. Extra veggies. If you are, getting your meal deal, can you make it whole grain bread rather than just the white bread? Simple swaps like that, snacking on nuts and seeds. So I'd say it's not really one golden ticket, but yeah, it's that kind of thing of diversifying your diet, because that saying of you are what you eat is absolutely true when it comes to your gut microbiome. So the more you can feed it with their favorite food and fiber foods and the different types of fiber you can get in, the more likely you are to create this more like rainforest inside your gut, which is what we want to strive for.
I know everyone bangs, it's been ruined by twats, avocados, because you don't even want to be seen eating one, because I think you want to punch yourself.
Yeah.
But it's so high in fiber, you don't even realise, because my mum is classic, I've got IBS because if I have too much fibre, my IBS flares up. And I'm like, she's eating a whole avocado. Do you realise it's one of the most fibre dense? Funny how you didn't get an IBS flare up after that. It's almost like it's not fibre that's doing it.
Yeah.
But avocado's got shed loads
if
of
I'm
it.
having a meal deal for my lunch, I'll shove an avocado in it as well.
Yeah.
But there's other things that I call like a false friend. Say, hey, swap out your white rice for your brown rice per 100 grams, like 1 gram of fibre. It's like, just have your white rice, have a day off.
And then just add extra things
It's not worth that. If you don't like the taste of brown rice, I happen to like it. But some things are false friends when it comes to swaps.
I do agree with
False
that.
friends.
And I think actually, Alana, go back to your point of, I think one thing that is absolutely underrated is sleep when it comes to the gut-brain
Yes.
axis. So from both sides of the kind of spectrum, for gut particularly, but also for the brain. And I think it's something that we neglect. Whenever we think about improving our health, we think diet and exercise. But actually, when we're neglecting our sleep, not getting enough of it, we wake up more in fight or flight. We've got more stress hormones pulsing through our body. It weakens our immune system, it impacts our heart health, and absolutely impacts our gut health as well. So I think that
Should I tell my 1-year-old that?
I live my life by what I call the 5 pillars, which is sleep, stress, diet, exercise, and evidence-based supplementation.
okay.
That's how I live my life.
I talk
Any
about-
one of those are out of
Book incoming.
If any of those are out of kilter,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Something's not right.
So I talk about having a strong back four. So like in I grew up in a house full of boys. So
Is it 4 brothers you've got?
no, 2 and but like
Yeah,
a
I bet there
big
was never a
family
clean
of
sock
cousins.
anywhere in the house for about 5 years.
So yeah, I talk about this strong back four. So it means that you can have all the fancy goal scorers in the world, probiotics, prebiotics, green powders, all up front scoring goals. But unless you have a strong back four, being enough sleep, good quality diet, managing your stress and getting exercise, you're going to concede every single time. So it doesn't matter how many goal scorers you have, you're always going to concede. So I talk about kind of always having them first and foremost before you start thinking about the bells and whistles
I
of
agree.
everything else.
And the player number 3, managing your stress. I think people know when their sleep's out. They know. They know when they're eating shit food and they know when they're not exercising. But I think people are less clued up on when player number 3 is injured. And it can be elements of your life that aren't functioning. And unfortunately, Lindsay's doing all this work. My wife's doing all this work with women at the moment. She's just started doing corporate speaking, and she's women writing to her. There's so many unhappy women out there in shite relationships. You're never gonna. Oh, I'm not stressed at work. I love my baby. But people seem to be willfully blind to the importance of a healthy, functioning relationship, because they know it's the one thing you can't manually fix by going to bed early. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do that. So, I was speaking to Paul C. Brunson the other day, and he says all breakups happen not because you're with the wrong person, but because your self-love and self-esteem was so low that your barriers were too low when you were looking for your next man. So you got with someone who was good enough. So once particularly a woman and a man works on themselves to get their self-love and self-esteem to where it is, your next relationship will be a success, because the first twat that comes along, your shields are up. So we can take all this fibre and we can fix our sleep. But if you aren't in a functioning, gay, straight, whatever the fuck, polyamorous, whatever it is, if you aren't shagging if you aren't mad fucking into each other and love each other, you will not fix player number 3. So you need to stop lying. And so my question to you as a gut health person
I didn't know what you were going to ask.
Where's this going?
sex and relationships and gut health. There must surely be a link with everything I'm eating. But there must be a link. There must be.
Well, completely. Like intimate relationships have a significant impact on your gut microbiome. So just an intimate kiss, 10 seconds, you're sharing 80 million bacteria with that person.
Right.
The vagina has its own microbiome.
Yeah. Well, my mouth is overpopulated then.
You are a product of the people around you, quite literally.
I've gone through the population of Russia and China at least 3 times.
But yeah,
So hang on, if you just say men should eat more pussy to live longer, listen, a lot of women will thank you.
I just think
That's Russell's takeaway from the
dating apps should now, have a thing on there with the gut microbiome diversity, because I want to know what I'm about to...
Yeah.
No, but
it's not.
in all seriousness, unless you're very wide, very different. Human beings are not programmed to survive without sex and intimate. Like, we're literally not.
Connection.
We're supposed to. Interestingly, the data that I've read is slightly different for men or women. So it appears that women's longevity and health is less impacted by not having a man around, funnily enough.
Commune. I'm always
But men really, really are up to 5 to 10 years of lifespan affected by being single.
Loneliness is a threat to survival. So back like we perceive it as a stress. It puts us back into fight or flight. We are wired to be connected to human beings. So so these women that you talk about who aren't necessarily in healthy relationships, they're probably being sort of triggered their stress response because they don't feel secure and safe. When you are around people that make you feel good and warm, it puts you into that rest and digest. It actually has an impact on your overall health and well-being. The single most important thing we can ever do for our longevity is actually cultivate strong, meaningful relationships.
That's what I'm saying. Player number 3 is the star of the pitch.
Something that apparently the rate of survival after you've had a heart attack. This is on Instagram, so this might not be facts. Yeah, take it. BHF, let me know. But the highest thing above drugs and all like in terms of survival rate post a heart attack was friends and friendship and connection.
I believe that. One of the longest studies that we have to date looking at kind of longevity but also happiness in old age, it has, if we look at the markers that can kind of predict how long and happy you will live, it actually has nothing to do with your cholesterol levels at middle age, but everything to do with whether or not you have that kind of like significant other, particularly, whether or not that's romantic or not, but you have this warm relationship that makes you feel secure.
There's a brilliant book full of book recommendations by Susan Pinker. She is related to the other one, called The Village Effect. So they are in these blue zones looking at purple potatoes and fibre and not being too comfortable. All those things add up. But they did a study around breast cancer survival rates, and they were looking at the impact of positive thinking. So people that go, I'm going to beat this cancer versus people that go, I'm doomed. And there was not much difference between the negative person, I'm going to die, versus I'm going to fight it. Unfortunately, they all died at equal rate. The difference was women who had other women supporting them. That was the ones who survived better. People that made not WhatsApp, not phone call, not online, real world connection with other women had better breast cancer survival rates. And I was like, wow, that's a powerful bit of data, that. So it appears women's lateral female friendship relationships are as important to them as their romantic relationships. So when it seems with men, although literally men who have male support are less likely to commit suicide, I'm aware of that. But on a biological level, men are more affected by their romantic connection rather than just their friendship connection.
So basically, this whole hour can be summed up in that the key to you looking like this and longevity is Lindsay.
Probably. Yeah.
It's not to do with any of your derma rolling or anything. The key to this
all of it
is Lindsay.
It's like anything. This is why your life's a nightmare, because people are always looking for a silver bullet answer. There isn't one. It's a little bit of that, a little bit of fibre, a little bit of the back four, a little bit of this, a little bit. It's all of it. You've got to, it's like our careers. If you just do stand up and you don't do your BBC One and your ITV, you'll do all right. But because I do a bit of this, I'm seen in the site, and then I might be on like a laddish podcast later, and then I was on QI last night, and then I'll be on ITV being mainstream. Lots of little things, you suddenly become successful. So the biology tracks in the same way, in my experience. There is no magic simple answer, if only.
No, I know, totally. We usually end on, which I'm a bit scared to ask you, but, a shit story. So if you have any anecdotes to do with poo or shitting yourself, or you can name your last poo.
Name it. What do you mean, like Titanic or something?
What would
my main problem is this is the only negative of really eating the right food and lots of fibre. I'm surprised you, particularly if you're a man, because I'm eating like 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day, which at my age, and I've still lost half fucking kilo last week, right? So I have to eat a lot of food to keep the engine running and all the exercise, and a lot of fibre. As our PhD friend here will tell us, the consequence of that is not all eubens can tolerate that level of health. And you do break water frequently. I mean, it is like a dinosaur's tail some days.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you're dropping a dinosaur's tail and you're at the beginning of a relationship and you get a no flush, you've got the rising water, water panic attack. So I block a lot of toilets.
That's a triumph.
A lot. So I have to, and I'm like really into the environment and all that, and I hate doing it, but I have to do an immediate flush before anything else follows it down there, just to clear the U-bend.
Right.
I'm a U-bend blocker. That's my grime name.
Why do some poos float? we know
MCU bend blocker.
It's to do with the
Just-
fat, the
it's
amount
to
of
do with
fat.
in it. That's why they float.
Mine are. You know, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger. I blocked a lot of U-bend. And the worst is you block a U-bend and you can't, obviously, you don't want to start chucking loo roll on top of it.
No.
You're not in Europe.
That's the worst thing you could
There's
do.
not a shit white bin. You're screwed, basically. You
Just
flush
need
it.
a dinosaur's tail.
Yeah, but then the brush.
Yeah, but then the brush gets.
Yeah.
You don't want to break it up with a stick. Do you know what I mean? And then worse, the worst that's ever happened. It's okay once you've been dating a while, but you go on that first weekend away, and I know a Popeye's forearm's coming out the next morning. So you want to get down to reception if you
Use
can.
the loo, yeah.
And the worst that happened, not with Lindsay, with another partner. And it was one of those hotels where, I don't know who's designed them, some kind of rectal pervert, where it's, frosted glass so you can see a hinting silhouette of what's going on. Like, who has ever got to a hotel and go, I can't enjoy the room because there isn't frosted glass? I like a hinting silhouette. Like, there's no fucking reason for it. Or the button that releases the frost when you're mid Boris Karloff. And anyway, so the worst that's happened, it's like twins. You know when you have twins, it's like Romulus and Remus. And like you said, your only option is the brush, followed by... But unfortunately, it packed like a dam. So it squared it off and then you have to sort of get a cover story to, I think the loo in here is broken. So then you put loads of paper on top to cover the shame. But of course, you've got a brush that's going to give away the evidence. It looks like a microphone from the 70s.
Well, I knew you wouldn't disappoint me. Okay, we're going to finish on something that each of us have learned. Alana, do you want to go first? There's so many nuggets from today.
If only.
To be honest.
I'd kill for a nugget.
Chicken time, guys.
I'd kill for a nugget. I never saw it. That is a bad sign, by the way. If you're delivering pellets, that's not good.
Poppets are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, I think the resilience, putting our body through stress. I think we all, and we are certainly, in the gut stuff, we talk about stress management and all the rest of it. And actually, I think we do forget that we do need that stress. We do need that drive. And I think people often say to Lisa and I, like, how'd you do it? Oh, blah, 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 being a founder, it's stressful, blah, blah, blah. And I think constantly being out our comfort zone, I always see that as a negative. I'm like, every day, we are our comfort zone. Yeah.
Loves novelty.
So I think I'm actually going to reframe that.
Yes, well done.
Of being of a positive. Like, it's positive that every day I'm in my comfort zone.
And also people think, well, I'm a journalist or I'm an author or I'm a stand-up, so I'm using my brain every day. But that's not novelty. Your brain's doing something it's good at. You need to wake up and I'm going to learn French or I'm going to learn how to fly or a plane or something. It's novelty that the brain loves.
Yeah.
So if you're using your brain for a living, you can get tricked into thinking, well, I won't get dementia because I use my brain every day.
Yeah.
It's not this. Look at Iris Murdoch, one of the finest minds ever to walk the earth. Novelist, philosopher. But you could argue she had no diversity of learning maybe, which put her in the danger. And I always find it amazing when someone with a brain like that gets dementia. But there is an argument that even if your engine is a Ferrari engine, if it's not doing anything but revving
on one path.
Exactly. Do I have to do something I've learned as well? That I can increase my microbiome by snacking on that pum pum.
80 million species of bacteria coming your way.
Even more reason.
Mine was definitely the Brazilian thing as well. Like, I don't want to be a weed, like a weak weed. I want to be a
That tree study's shocking, isn't it?
daffodil.
But it's something to think about with your children as well.
Yeah, no,
because
definitely.
it's so hard for us because we're so scared by the media. I'm not getting any of this right. My daughter, I carry my daughter to bed at 9. It's pathetic. But I'm not doing her any favours.
Yeah.
It feels like I am. But you've got to get that hormesis. Word of the day.
Hormesis. Make them tough. Emily, did you learn anything from...
I did. Yeah. I learned that I'm not going to follow Russell after he's been to the loo.
On that note. Or you can follow him with another toilet brush. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Like either one of us in there. Actually, I wouldn't want to follow a fibre doctor into
No, exactly.
Imagine the state of it. The door probably wouldn't even open on the facilities. Just an eye with poo.
Thank you. Home time. Did this got you excited? Join us on our 100 Days to Hack Your Gut Health program. The link is in the bio. Come and find us on Instagram at The Gut Stuff. In fact, we're at The Gut Stuff pretty much everywhere. So hit subscribe. Your gut will thank you for it. Keep your shit together and have a gut day.